Texas football delivers a much-needed victory against West Virginia. Postseason baseball is right around the corner, and the NFL produces plenty of highlights yet again in Week 4. All this and more coming up on College Press Box.
Good evening and welcome to College Press Box. I'm your host, Jordan Geelhoed, and I'm joined by Adam Ogburn. We've got a great show for you today, got a lot to get through, so let's have Adam get us started with what went down during the football game on Saturday.
Yeah, Jordan, let's head down to DKR. Texas and West Virginia both looking to avoid falling to 0-2 in Big 12 play. We're going to pick this one up in the first quarter. 6 minutes left playing as the Longhorns first. They're going to take the field. But as we move forward into the highlights, 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. Look at this. Hudson Card is going to drop this one right into Xavier Worthy in the corner of the end zone. That puts the Longhorns up 7-0. But Steve Sarkisian, he's not satisfied. A little bit of trickeration. The double pass as Worthy finds a wide open Jatavian Sanders. That puts Texas up 14-0. Into the second quarter we go. Texas domination continues. Bijan Robinson gets in the end zone. He finished with 101 yards on the day and that lone touchdown. In Texas, they just keep on scoring. Jatavian Sanders with another touchdown. He had 5 for 78 on the game. Texas up 28-0 by this point. We move into the second half. Now they're up 28-7. Hudson Card's going to scream around. He's throwing up a bit of a prayer here, but it ends up working out. Somehow the ball falls into Xavier Worthy's hands. He makes the highlight catch, and Texas is almost home free at this point. But could West Virginia mount a comeback? They're going to try. Tony Mathis Jr., he's going to get in the end zone here from 1 yard out to make it 35-14. And then again, Justin Johnson in the end zone. That makes it 38-21. And if you're a Texas fan, you're feeling a little bit nervous as Casey Legg goes for this onside kick. And it's a good onside kick, too. Look, this one's going to get down the sideline. It's nearly recovered by Caden Prather, but somehow Keelan Robinson ends up coming up with it. And that's all that Texas needed. The Longhorns managed to run out the clock and hold on to a big 38-20 victory over the Mountaineers. This one gets them back to 1-1 in conference play ahead of that big Red River rivalry game against Oklahoma. And while Texas will host Oklahoma this Saturday, West Virginia falling to 2-3. They'll travel to Baylor in a week and a half after their bye week this week.
That's right, and we had a man on the floor, Tyler Moss, our very own here at TSTV, has something to say about what happened at West Virginia.
West Virginia did not look like almost heaven tonight in their football game against the Texas Longhorns, as Texas dominated this game throughout the entirety of it. They went into halftime up 28-7 and ended up not scoring much in the second half, but being far enough ahead that the fans felt comfortable starting to clear out towards the end of the third quarter. Some of the standout performances were Xavier Worthy, who was responsible for 3 touchdowns in the game, and he caught 2, and that's right, he threw 1 on a trick play. And Hudson Card had a very efficient game, going for over 300 yards and also passing for 3 touchdowns.
And that is going to do it from DKR for tonight as the Texas Longhorns take home a 38-20 victory over the West Virginia Mountaineers. Coach Sarkisian had this to note that Hudson Card played really well tonight, and he's still keeping an eye on both the health of him and starting quarterback Quinn Ewers for next week's game against Oklahoma in Dallas in the Red River rivalry game. We'll see you next week for Oklahoma, and that's everything for tonight.
Now, I am lucky to be joined by our 2 Texas football analysts, Tommy Yarch and Joe Duffy. Thank you both for joining me here tonight. Okay, so Tommy, Hudson Card played one of his best games as a Longhorn on Saturday. What did you see from this Texas offense that impressed you, and what maybe needs to be touched up a bit?
Yeah, sure thing, Jordan. I want to start with Hudson here. I think certainly this was his best game as a Longhorn. 21 for 27 through the air, 303 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's really stepped up these past couple of weeks and played at a high level that they've needed him to in the absence of Quinn Ewers. Additionally, I love seeing Xavier Worthy and JT Sanders flourish in this offense. We knew Steve Sarkisian was going to use them too big time coming into the season. Worthy has been looking for a big game all year after a quiet start, and now he finally finds it. 3 total touchdowns on the day for him, and even 1 through the air to JT Sanders, 119 yards as well receiving. JT had 78 and 2 scores. That's what you want to see from your 2 biggest receiving threats heading into arguably the biggest game of the season in Red River Week. I would like to see them continue to apply pressure on the offensive end of the second half, just 10 points in the second half, opposed to 28 in the first 2 quarters. When this game easily could have gotten way out of hand, it could have been won by much more than 18. It just felt like they let off the gas pedal a little bit, and even that can go on both sides of the football. Defensively, we saw West Virginia climb back a little bit into it, and with that being said, we've seen this team struggle a lot when it comes to finishing games, and they absolutely need to be ready to both start and finish next week against Oklahoma after the disaster that happened a year ago.
Absolutely right. Yeah, we need to see Texas keep their foot on the gas pedal, keep finishing those games. But you're right, those offensive threats, especially Xavier Worthy, we knew how much of a receiving threat he could be. Who knew he could be a throwing threat?
He might throw the ball to himself now at this point.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. So, Joe, as I move on to you, the Longhorns, who are unranked at the moment, get to face an unranked Oklahoma, marking the first Red River showdown with both rivals unranked in 24 years. To you, does this game lose any significant weight, being that both teams are unranked?
Absolutely not, Jordan. The Red River game has its toxicity between the rival fan bases every year, but the conference records show that the Big 12 is still very much wide open, even when the SEC TV programs are now ranked in the top 25. Who had the 2 teams from Kansas leading the conference at this point? And from a recent standpoint, who anticipated TCU to look as sharp as they did against Oklahoma this past Saturday? Listen, we have heard repeatedly from Coach Sarkisian about how the goal for the Longhorns is to be in December at AT&T Stadium playing for a conference title by any means necessary. He mentioned that goal before the Alabama game to lessen the pressure on his players, and he even said it after the Longhorns played UTSA at home 2 weeks ago in this presser. So we can conclude that this team will have a steadfast attitude even in an unranked matchup in Dallas against an arch rival. Now, that does not mean that there isn't a sense of urgency to be expected, but don't let the rankings fool you into thinking that the Red River game's passion is lost when this conference is still very much up for grabs.
Absolutely, yeah. Even though it doesn't have as much of a bearing on the Big 12 rankings, there is no love lost between these teams. Should be a great rivalry game. Now, gentlemen, this is for both of you. Texas comes into Dallas having lost the last 4 matchups in this illustrious rivalry, with the last win coming from the unforgettable Dick or the Kicker moment. What are the keys that go towards lifting the golden hat this Saturday?
Well, I think there's really a lot that needs to go into it, but for me, to start off, I think offensive rhythm is a big part of it. Similar to last season, Steve Sarkisian's opening schemes have been a thing of beauty. We saw that earlier this year against Alabama. That's going to need to hold true again Saturday if Texas wants to win. Additionally, they have to continue to score points in the second half, like I mentioned earlier, and not give the Sooners any sort of chance to climb back into this, like you see Caleb Williams scoring that big touchdown in the second half last year. That's what really sparked that Oklahoma comeback. To go along with that, strong defense. There wasn't much of that last year, and the scoreboard will obviously show you that, especially in the second half. This is a defining game for Pete Kwiatkowski and this defensive scheme that has been trying out for the past couple of years at Texas. He and his guys need to look sharp this week to stop a new-look Sooner offense in all 4 quarters.
Absolutely, that defense needs to stay solid. Joe?
To piggyback off Tommy, for me, Texas has to have a persistent pass rush that can finish the play and get off the field, which this defense has struggled with. On third down opportunities, the Longhorns defense ranks 92nd nationally in the FBS, and that also sets the Horns 9th in the Big 12 Conference, with their opponents converting 42.35% of their third down opportunities. The defensive struggles were evident in the upset loss in Lubbock, where the Red Raiders converted 6 of 8 fourth down opportunities. Even this past Saturday, West Virginia converted on third down 50% of the time to move the chains. So that means the Texas defense needs to be more efficient down the stretch and finish plays off without a doubt so that fatigue doesn't catch up and get in their way.
Absolutely, yeah. Those 4th down conversions at Tech were brutal. If Texas can just cut down on some of those, I feel good about their chances.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me, and now I'll kick it back to Adam.
Hey, thanks, Jordan. When we come back on College Press Box, it's nearly time for the best baseball of the year, playoff baseball. Jason Kinander breaks down the playoff picture when we come back. Welcome back to College Press Box. The crazy thing, it's already October, but that means it's nearly time for the baseball postseason. Jason Kinander is joining us now with a playoff preview before the madness begins this Friday. Jason, take it away.
Thanks, Adam. Who would have thought a little over 6 months ago when Major League Baseball was in the midst of a lockout and the season was very much in doubt that we would be at this point, playoff baseball. There's a lot to unpack. We're going to dive right into it tonight. So before actually previewing the bracket, I think it'd be a good idea to touch upon the new postseason formatting for this season. Here's how it works. You have 6 teams from each league that make the postseason. 3 division champions, 3 wildcard teams. The 2 division champions with the best records in each league will receive a first-round bye. Meanwhile, seeds 3 and seeds 6 and 4 and 5 will face off in a series hosted by the higher seed. The winners of those series move on to the division series, where the bracket then looks and operates exactly as it has in the past. Now we're going to talk baseball. I'm going to break this up into 3 segments: American League preview, National League preview, predictions time. To begin, I'm going to preview each of the division champions, 1 wildcard team from each league that I like to go on a run. We'll start with the American League. So, little disclaimer, bit can change with these matchups this last week, but here we go. First off, the Houston Astros, top seed out of the American League. Key thing with them is the postseason experience. 7 out of 9 players in this lineup were in the postseason lineup last season. Every start in the rotation is pitched in a playoff game before. They are led by Jordan Alvarez, likely Cy Young Award winner Justin Verlander. This team is deep, folks. These are the surefire favorites out of the American League. They came 2 games away from the World Series last year, but equally as dangerous are the New York Yankees out of the American League East. Led by Aaron Judge, 1 home run away from breaking that American League record. They have a strong 1-2 punch atop the rotation. Garrett Cole and Nestor Cortez. Big X factor. Who's the third starter? Is it Jameson Taillon? Is it Luis Severino? Someone will have to step up if the Yankees want to win a playoff series, get over that hump this season. But it has been an exciting season in the Bronx for the Bronx Bombers. Lots of history. We'll see if they can put it all together. Now, out of the American League Central, the youngest team to make the postseason, the Cleveland Guardians. This is a team that does all the little things correctly. The star is Jose Ramirez, but do not sleep on Josh Naylor or Andres Jimenez, 2 big-time players for Cleveland. This is a team also with an unreal bullpen that is ready to compete immediately. Emmanuel Clase is most likely the best closer in the postseason. James Karinchak has a sub-2 ERA, and Nick Sandlin is a submarine sidearm right-hander who specializes in getting out other right-handed hitters. So Cleveland is a very dangerous team to watch. Sound defensive team, great rotation. Here are your Seattle Mariners. They just snapped the longest active postseason drought in American sports this past weekend. They're led by Julio Rodriguez. You saw him in the home run derby. Remember the name. This kid is going to be one of the greats. It's a Cinderella squad, but will Luis Castillo, Robbie Ray, and Logan Gilbert be enough of a rotation to take them far enough? Seattle hasn't won a playoff series since 1995, so that'll be seen. National League, top seed. The surprise of absolutely nobody, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers. 3rd 110-win team in National League history. They are led by the lefties, Kershaw, Urias, Tyler Anderson. The star power is incredible. Between Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, and Freddie Freeman, these guys are the best of the best. The record shows it. I mean, they won 110 games. This team should be able to put it all together. They got upset by Atlanta in the playoffs last season. I do not expect the same to happen to them this season. The Dodgers are the clear team to beat in the NL. Speaking of Atlanta, your likely National League East champions are the Atlanta Braves. They are looking to repeat, but different main characters than last year. This time it's the young guys, William Contreras, Michael Harris, Spencer Strider. The difference is Ronald Acuna. He tore his ACL in May of last season. He's back and healthy for this playoff run. Will be very interesting to see what the Braves can do. Coming off a World Series championship shorthanded, now they have a full squad. Same expectations. They'll be looking to repeat as the likely 2 seed in the National League. Now a team with no shortage of storylines, the St. Louis Cardinals. Albert Pujols, Adam Wainwright, and Yadier Molina looking to make a final run. No, it is not 2011. Led by likely MVP Paul Goldschmidt, superstar Nolan Arenado. Both of these guys are amazingly looking for their first championships. But a common denominator with all these teams is the rotation good enough? Jordan Montgomery, acquired from the Yankees in July, he has been awesome. But is he, plus Adam Wainwright and Jack Flaherty, going to be enough? We'll see. New York Mets, my favorite wild card team out of the National League. Scherzer and DeGrom is a crazy 1-2 punch in the playoffs, but a very difficult road. They will likely face the San Diego Padres and then the 110-win Dodgers. This is a team with a great bullpen. Everyone knows the story with Edwin Diaz, the electric walkout music. This team just feels special to me, led by Buck Showalter. This is a team that knows how to win. They're going to be one of the most winningest teams in baseball as a wild card squad. Great rotation, great bullpen, great lineup. You'll see why I'm so high on the Mets in a moment. Third part of the segment now, we are going to go through some predictions. Now, these are going to be a little bit rapid fire. I'm going to go series by series, give my World Series pick. We're going to start with the American League. I have Cleveland going over Tampa Bay in that wild card round. I have Seattle upsetting Toronto. Love the momentum that the Mariners have. In the subsequent division series, the Yankees, unfortunately, will end the Cinderella run by the Mariners, followed by Cleveland upsetting the Astros in the division series, setting up a Yankees-Guardians American League championship. I've got the Yankees in that one. National League wild card, Mets over the Padres. I love the Mets rotation. Cardinals over the Phillies. Nothing has been going right for Philadelphia in the past month. Then I'll have the Mets over the Dodgers in a massive upset. LA couldn't get over the hump last year in the first round. They don't have Atlanta, but they have a tougher team this year in the Mets. Now the Braves, I have them outlasting the Cardinals. A rematch in the National League Championship Series of this exciting series that happened this past weekend, Mets-Braves. Braves swept this weekend. I've got the Mets this time. Mets-Yankees World Series. The New York Mets are my world champion. Adam, back to you.
Hey, thank you, Jason. Putting your reputation on the line there, picking the Guardians over the Astros. But we'll wait and see how the baseball playoffs play out. But when we return here on Press Box, Justin Goosman is going to join the show. He'll break down all the NFL action from Week 4. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back into College Press Box. Well, with the football season in full swing, there's never a shortage of exciting games every single week. So we'll now go to Justin Goosman, who will break down some of the biggest things that happened this past weekend around the NFL.
The NFL weekend had some fantastic finishes this week, but we have some surprises through 4 weeks with some unexpected teams picking up wins this weekend. However, it's always great to start Sunday off early with a London game, and that's exactly where we're going to start with this weekend's highlights. Let's go to London, where the Vikings would take on the Saints in a matchup in a completely different country. Started off, Kirk Cousins drops back, finds Alexander Madison on the screen pass for the touchdown. Vikings would go up 7-zip. Fast forward to the second half. Not too much has gone on, but Kirk Cousins would find Justin Jefferson on a nasty route that would take out 2 Saints defenders in the middle of the field. They would get down inside the 5. It would lead to their 3rd field goal of the game. Following that, Andy Dalton drops back and drops a dime to Marcus Callaway to get the Saints rolling on offense. Not too long after that, Mark Ingram takes the ball, bowls through defenders at the 1-yard line, and gets in for the score. The Saints are cooking once again. They get a stop, holding the Vikings to just 3, and this time it's Dalton finding Troutman, who gets to the outside and almost gets into the end zone, setting up Taysom Hill to take the snap, and you know what he does best. That is find the end zone with his legs. Taysom Hill would give the Saints the lead. Following that, Kirk Cousins would drop back, throw a deep ball to Adam Thielen, where they would call a defensive pass interference on this play. There's a little controversy there. But following up, Justin Jefferson gets the handoff and waltzes into the end zone. You know everybody in the NFL is hitting the gritty. Justin Jefferson, that's what he does. Following that, Will Lutz would drill a 60-yard field goal to seemingly tie the game under 2 minutes to go. You'd think this would be the last possession. The Vikings throw a bomb to one of the best receivers in the league, Justin Jefferson, once again, and they would end up settling for another field goal. So the Saints have one more chance, and Andy Dalton finds his young receiver, Chris Olave, to set up a potentially game-tying field goal. Bears fans, look away. We have a double doink in London, and the Saints go down to the Vikings, fall to 1-3, and the Vikings go to 3-1. Let's go down to Atlanta, where the Browns would take on the Falcons in a battle of the hometown kid Nick Chubb against one of the best rushing attacks in the Atlanta Falcons. Nick Chubb would start it off, bouncing off defenders, carrying the entire Falcons defense, and picking up the first down. Later that possession, Jacoby Brissett drops back on 4th down, probing, can't find a single guy open, and eventually has to throw it away. This Falcons defense looked gritty early, and they looked gritty often. Atlanta showing some grit on defense, and they would do a little flea flicker here from the Browns, give it to Njoku on the tight end screen, but the Falcons would force a fumble and fall on it. This would set up the Falcons for another potential scoring drive, as Marcus Mariota would hand it off to Cordero Patterson, who finds the outside and gets into the end zone for a touchdown. What a story Cordero Patterson is. Unfortunately was placed on IR just this morning. Following up, the Browns would get another chance in the red zone inside the 5-yard line. Jacoby Brissett would do his best Cam Newton impression, and he would find the end zone. He's fired up, get the lead down to single digits. Browns would tie it up with a field goal. Marcus Mariota drops back and fires an interception to Denzel Ward. As the Browns would steal all the momentum in the second half, they would follow that up with the field goal. But this possession was the Caleb Huntley possession. Marcus Mariota didn't throw a single pass, as Caleb Huntley and Tyler Algier would drive them all the way down the field, and eventually Caleb Huntley would dive into the end zone on this play right here. We talked about the gritty earlier. Caleb Huntley, undrafted guy out of Ball State, he would have to get gritty as well. The Falcons would take the lead 17-13, but Nick Chubb, the hometown kid from Cedartown, Georgia, was not done yet, as he would drive into the end zone to give the Browns the lead with just under 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. But Tyler Algier, rookie out of BYU, he drags the defender about 15 yards to set up the Falcons on a scoring drive. They would have to settle for yet another field goal, tie the game up 20-20, but a stop on the following drive sets them up beautifully on offense, as Marcus Mariota throws a duck to Olamide Zaccheaus, who makes a big play, bringing the Falcons across midfield, and that would set up yet another Falcons field goal. One final chance for the Browns. Jacoby Brissett drops back and throws an interception to D. Alford, and the Falcons go to 2-2 with a chance to get the division next week. We're going right to Baltimore. We end the game with an interception last game, and we're starting it with an interception this time. As the Ravens would start this game off hot, Marlon Humphrey intercepts Josh Allen and takes it inside the 10-yard line to set up Lamar Jackson and this offense. He would throw a little pitch into J.K. Dobbins, who would have a great game today, getting over 2 touchdowns. And then the Ravens once again fire a strike into Rashad Bateman. He gets up, he's fired up. Lamar Jackson looks like he's rolling early and often, and here is J.K. Dobbins once again, getting into the end zone to put the Baltimore Ravens up 14-3 before the end of the first. They'd get yet another stop on defense. This time Lamar Jackson does his best Houdini impression, escapes, and throws up a prayer that gets answered by Devin Duvernay, who picks up the first down on 2nd and 19. The Ravens offense looked solid early on. They would end that possession in a field goal. Josh Allen, trying to get something going before the half, finds his man, potentially the best receiver in football, Stephon Diggs, and that would set them up in a goal-to-go situation where Josh Allen would find Isaiah McKenzie to bring the lead down to 10 going into the half. Now the Bills rolling once again. Josh Allen does what he does best. It just looks like a video game when he plays football, doing everything he can on 4th down to set up another drive inside the 10-yard line. This time he fakes the handoff, gets all the way to the outside, and bowls defenders over to tie the game at 20 apiece. Now this was the controversial call that puts John Harbaugh in some negative light. Lamar Jackson throws up a prayer and it's intercepted in the end zone. The Buffalo Bills will have one more chance on offense. And you know what happens when you give Josh Allen the football. Once again, escaping the pocket, dancing around the pressure, and throws a strike to the left sideline to give them a chance to take the lead. This play right here, however, Josh Allen would throw an incompletion on a screen pass. But you see a roughing the passer penalty that is called on a controversial play yet again for the Ravens, which would set up the Bills for another set of downs. This would lead to a easy chip shot field goal to give the Bills the lead, and the Baltimore Ravens blow another home lead to fall to 2-2 as the Buffalo Bills will advance to 3-1. Great weekend across the NFL.
Thank you for that, Justin. Man, it's rough watching those Ravens lowlights, but your analysis is very much appreciated. When we return, we recap the last week in Texas sports. You won't want to miss it.
TSTV does not
Welcome back into College Press Box. It's time for some of the top Texas sports moments of the past week. And while Texas football's Lubbock road trip may have been a nightmare, that wasn't the case for volleyball on Sunday. Madison Skinner led the way with 19 kills, and Logan Eccleston pitched in with 17 as the Longhorns swept the Red Raiders in 3 sets. The win improves Texas to 11-0 overall and 3-0 in conference play. The Longhorns will be in action next on Wednesday at home against TCU.
Last Sunday, University of Texas star Peyton Stearns claimed the singles title at the International Tennis Federation's Pro Circuit 25K Tour on Sunday afternoon at the Texas Tennis Center. After a dominant 6-1, 6-0 victory in the championship round, this will mark the second time she's won this tour after turning pro.
Texas women's soccer team remained unbeaten in conference play with a 1-0 win over Baylor on Friday. Trinity Byers scored the lone goal in the 28th minute. That was her 11th of the season, and goalkeeper Savannah Madden had 9 saves, keeping the clean sheet and goal for Texas. The Longhorns now have 2 wins and a draw in their first 3 Big 12 games, and they'll return to action this Thursday as they host Kansas State.
Texas softball competed against St. Mary's this past Friday and won, putting up a score of 8-1 after playing 10 innings. 6 different players for Texas registered an RBI, helping the Longhorns improve the record to 2-0 on this fall season.
That does it for the last week in Longhorn sports. Let's look ahead to this week in Longhorn sports. Coming up, we got volleyball. We'll host TCU on Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Longhorn Network. Soccer hosts Kansas State on Thursday at 7 p.m. On Saturdays, that all-important Red River rivalry, unranked Texas against unranked Oklahoma. That'll be a big one. That's 11 a.m. on ABC. And then Sunday, soccer's at home again. This time they'll host the Kansas Jayhawks. And then softball gets in action. They'll host Texas State at 4 p.m. on Sunday.
Some great games this week. I know we're all excited for that Red River Showdown. That'll wrap things up for this week's episode of College Press Box. Make sure to tune into our other shows this week, including College Crossfire on Wednesday and 1-0 Sports on Friday. Thank you to our analysts, everyone in Master Control. A big thank you to our executive producer, Samantha Pearl. And for everyone else at TSTV, I'm Jordan Geelhoed. He's Adam Ogburn. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night.